Success can sometimes feel out of reach, no matter how hard we try. But the truth is, Allah wants you to win. He has a plan for you, filled with mercy, guidance, and success. In today's video, we'll explore how to trust Allah's timing, embrace His plan, and find true success in our lives. Let's begin this journey together. Hassan sat in his small study room, the weight of his textbooks and assignments scattered around him like an ever-growing mountain. The clock ticked away relentlessly, but despite his best efforts, his focus felt as fleeting as the time itself. Hassan had always been a diligent student. He worked hard, studied late into the night, and never skipped a prayer. Yet, the results never seemed to match his effort. He had just received his latest exam results, and once again, they were not what he had hoped for. How could this happen again? He thought as he stared at the papers in front of him. The marks were disappointing, leaving him feeling like a failure. Hassan's dreams of becoming a successful doctor seemed farther out of reach with each passing semester. He had worked tirelessly, and still he was stuck in the same place. The constant feeling of inadequacy weighed heavily on his heart. Every time he opened his books, he felt the pressure to do better, to reach higher. But it seemed as if no matter what he did, success was just beyond his grasp. Why do I keep failing? Hassan asked himself, his voice barely above a whisper. He tried to push the thoughts away, but they lingered, and the doubts grew stronger. Hassan had always been taught that success came from hard work, but now he began to wonder if that was truly the case. What's the point of all this effort? He thought bitterly. It felt as though the more he worked, the more distant his goals became. The frustration was building, and Hassan couldn't help but wonder if he was simply not meant to succeed. It wasn't just about the grades. It was about the dream that seemed to be slipping further away. He had always imagined himself as a successful, respected doctor, helping people and making a real difference in the world. But now, with each failed exam, that dream seemed to fade. Maybe this isn't for me, Hassan thought, the weight of his dreams slipping through his fingers like sand. His family and friends encouraged him to keep going, but they didn't truly understand the depth of his frustration. They saw his hard work, but they didn't see the despair in his heart when the results didn't reflect his efforts. Allah knows what's best, his mother would say, comforting him. Don't give up, trust in Allah's plan. But Hassan couldn't shake the feeling that he was letting everyone down, especially himself. He had prayed for success, asking Allah for guidance and strength, but it felt like his prayers were unanswered. Is Allah really listening to me? Hassan asked quietly, unsure if he would ever hear the answers he so desperately needed. One afternoon, sitting alone in his room, Hassan took a deep breath and closed his eyes. I've been trying so hard, but it feels like everything is slipping away, he thought. He had always believed that Allah wanted what was best for him, but now he felt lost. He wondered if his hard work and sincerity were enough to earn Allah's mercy. Would He answer his prayers? Would He give him the success he so desperately sought? The doubts were overwhelming. Hassan couldn't help but feel that he wasn't good enough. Maybe Allah doesn't want me to succeed. Maybe I'm not destined for greatness. These thoughts echoed in his mind, growing louder with each passing day. But even in the midst of his frustration, Hassan held on to something deeper within himself, a small flicker of hope. I still believe in Allah's plan, he thought, but that belief was beginning to waver under the pressure of his unmet expectations. I just don't know what to do anymore. As the days passed, Hassan continued his daily routine, but his heart felt heavier with each passing moment. The same sense of disappointment lingered over him like a thick fog, clouding his mind and dampening his spirit. He would wake up every morning with the same resolve to do better, to study harder, to push through the challenges. But by the end of the day, his sense of failure would only grow. The cycle seemed endless, and with each setback, Hassan began to question his path more deeply. It was on one of these restless nights that Hassan found himself staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. The weight of his worries kept him up, turning over in his mind. The pressure to succeed, to fulfill the dreams of those who believed in him, weighed heavily on his heart. What's the point of all this effort if it's leading nowhere? He thought, his mind racing. The questions about his own worth, about whether Allah truly wanted him to succeed, crept in again. He had always believed that hard work and dedication were the keys to success, but now he wasn't sure anymore. He began to wonder if maybe he had misunderstood the whole concept of success. Am I missing something? Hassan asked himself, frustration bubbling inside. He closed his eyes and whispered a prayer to Allah, asking for guidance. But even in his prayers, there was doubt. Allah, what am I supposed to do? He asked, as though Allah was far away, not listening to his pleas. But in the silence of the night, as the clock ticked steadily, something inside Hassan shifted. It wasn't the kind of sudden realization that comes in an instant, but rather a quiet, gentle whisper in his heart, urging him to let go of the pressure and trust that his struggles were part of something greater. It was a fleeting thought, almost as if a voice within him was saying, "This isn't the end. This is only the beginning of your journey. Allah has a plan for you. Trust it." This simple thought surprised him, for it was the first time in a while that he had considered that his struggles might not be in vain. Allah doesn't want me to fail, Hassan whispered to himself, a small spark of hope flickering within him. Allah wants me to succeed, but maybe I need to change the way I'm looking at things. The next morning, as he walked to the mosque for Fajr prayer, Hassan's mind was still occupied by these thoughts. It was still early, and the streets of Al-Qamar were quiet, the world still asleep. As he entered the mosque, the serene atmosphere seemed to lift the heaviness from his heart. The soft sound of the Imam's voice as he recited the Quran felt like a gentle reminder to Hassan. Allah's mercy is vast, and his plans for him were far greater than he could see in his current state. In the midst of his prayer, Hassan felt something stir within him. He wasn't just asking for Allah's mercy. He was beginning to understand that his struggles were part of a process that would lead to something greater. I can't see the full picture right now, he thought, but Allah sees everything, and He knows what's best for me. It was then that Hassan realized that success wasn't just about his grades or career. It was about learning patience, trusting Allah's timing, and knowing that Allah's plan for him was always for the best, even if he couldn't see it yet. He remembered the words his mother had often spoken to him. Don't just ask Allah for what you want, ask Him for what's best for you. In that moment, Hassan understood that asking for success wasn't enough. He needed to trust that Allah's definition of success for him was far beyond what he could imagine. Hassan walked out of the mosque feeling lighter, as though a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He knew that his road wasn't going to be easy, and the struggles would still come. But now he was beginning to trust in Allah's plan. He understood that true success didn't come from just hard work alone. It came from believing that Allah wanted him to win, and that this journey, with all its hardships, was preparing him for something far greater. As he walked back home, Hassan realized that the path to success wasn't about avoiding failure or having everything go perfectly. It was about trust, perseverance, and seeking Allah's mercy in everything. He had been so focused on the outcome that he had lost sight of the journey. Now Hassan knew that if he could just trust in Allah's plan, if he could approach every challenge with patience and faith, he would not only find success, but a deeper connection with Allah and peace in his heart. The days that followed Hassan's moment of reflection brought him a sense of calm he had not known in a long time. For the first time, he began to feel the weight of his doubts lifting, replaced by a new understanding that Allah's plan was unfolding in ways he couldn't yet fully comprehend. He was still facing challenges, and the road ahead remained uncertain. But there was something different now. Hassan had let go of the pressure to force success and was learning to trust in Allah's timing and mercy. It was early one morning as Hassan sat in the courtyard outside his home, contemplating his next steps, that he received a visit from his mentor, Sheikh Amir, a wise and respected figure in the community. Sheikh Amir had seen Hassan grow over the years, and he had always encouraged him to persevere in his studies and in his faith. Hassan respected him deeply, and today, Sheikh Amir's visit would prove to be pivotal. "Hassan," the Sheikh began gently, his eyes filled with warmth, "I have seen your efforts, your hard work, your sincerity. But I want to remind you of something that is often overlooked. Allah wants you to win, but He does not always want you to win in the way you expect." Hassan listened intently, a bit unsure of what the Sheikh meant. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice filled with both curiosity and hesitation. Sheikh Amir smiled, his voice calm yet filled with profound understanding. "You see, Hassan, success in this life is not only about achieving what we desire, but about the path that takes us there. The challenges you are facing, the struggles you are experiencing, they are part of Allah's mercy. They are not signs of failure. They are part of the process that shapes you into the person Allah knows you can be." Hassan felt a stir within him. He had never thought of his struggles in this way. He had always viewed them as obstacles to his success. But Sheikh Amir's words began to shift his perspective. He thought back to the times when he had felt most frustrated, when his efforts seemed to fall flat. Perhaps those times weren't just setbacks. They were opportunities to grow, to learn, and to draw closer to Allah. "But how do I know that I am on the right path?" Hassan asked, his voice tinged with the lingering doubt that still gripped his heart. Sheikh Amir placed a reassuring hand on Hassan's shoulder. "Trust Allah, Hassan. Allah's mercy is greater than anything we can imagine. It's not about being perfect or achieving everything you want on your own timeline. It's about seeking Allah with sincerity, asking for His guidance, and trusting that He knows what is best for you. His mercy will always be there to carry you through, even when the path seems unclear." Hassan's heart felt lighter as these words resonated deeply within him. "Allah's mercy," he thought to himself, "is not just for the moments when I succeed. It is with me during the struggles, during the times of doubt, when I can't see the way forward." The Sheikh's words sank into his heart, replacing the doubt with peace. Hassan realized that his definition of success had been too narrow. Success wasn't only about achieving high marks or completing his degree. It was about building his relationship with Allah, developing patience, and finding peace in the process. Success was also about surrendering to Allah's will and understanding that Allah's plan for him was far greater than any plan he could make on his own. The conversation with Sheikh Amir became a turning point for Hassan. Over the next few days, Hassan spent more time reflecting on the concept of Allah's mercy and how it was not just a distant concept, but something that was active in his life, guiding him, protecting him, and shaping his journey. He began to see his challenges as moments of growth and learning, not as failures. Even when his efforts didn't yield the results he expected, Hassan began to trust that Allah's plan was unfolding in ways that he couldn't yet fully understand. That evening, Hassan sat alone in his room, the soft glow of the lantern lighting his face as he opened the Quran. He turned to a verse that had always been dear to him, but tonight it carried a new meaning. And your Lord is the forgiving, full of mercy. If he were to punish them for what they earned, he would have hastened for them the punishment. But for them is an appointment from which they will never escape. Quran 39:53. Reading these words, Hassan felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. Allah's mercy is endless, he thought, and it is through this mercy that I will find true success. He understood now that the key to success wasn't just about the destination, but about trusting the journey. Every step, every setback, and every triumph was part of Allah's mercy guiding him toward what was best for him. Hassan's perspective shifted completely. He no longer saw himself as a failure. He saw himself as a person on a journey that Allah was guiding, and that success wasn't only about the result, but the process, the growth, and the faith he was developing along the way. Allah wants me to win, Hassan whispered to himself, and I will trust in his mercy to guide me through every challenge I face. The next few weeks felt different for Hassan. There was a noticeable change in the way he approached his studies, his prayers, and even his interactions with others. He had come to understand that success didn't solely reside in achieving his goals in the way he had imagined it. His focus had shifted. What mattered most now was his relationship with Allah, his trust in his timing, and his ability to remain patient through the challenges he was facing. Hassan began to learn that true success was about alignment with Allah's will, and this meant trusting that Allah knew what was best for him. Every time he sat down to study, he didn't rush or force the process. Instead, he focused on doing his best in the moment, knowing that the outcome was in Allah's hands. He no longer stressed over the final exam results, nor did he feel as though he was doomed to fail. Instead, Hassan embraced the present moment, trusting that his efforts were enough, and that Allah would reward him in ways he might not expect. One evening, after a long day of studying, Hassan took a walk through the peaceful streets of Al-Qamar. The moonlight bathed the town in a soft glow, and there was a calming stillness in the air. It was during this quiet walk that Hassan realized something profound. He had spent so many years in a rush, rushing to complete his degree, rushing to meet expectations, rushing to prove himself. He had focused so much on the end result that he had forgotten to enjoy the journey, to appreciate the small victories, and to be grateful for each step, no matter how difficult. As he walked, Hassan reflected on the idea of Allah's timing. We often try to rush things in our lives, he thought, but Allah's timing is perfect. His plan is always better than anything I could ever imagine. I have to trust in that, even when I don't understand the process. Hassan's perspective was shifting. He began to understand that Allah didn't want him to rush through life or to focus only on the destination. The key was to embrace patience, to know that everything in his life, whether it felt like a success or a failure, was happening according to a divine plan. Every test, every challenge, and every delay was there to shape him, to make him stronger, more resilient, and more grateful. That night, Hassan felt a sense of peace he hadn't known before. His heart was no longer burdened with impatience, nor was he consumed with anxiety about what was to come. Instead, he surrendered to Allah's will, knowing that his life was unfolding exactly as it should. I don't need to understand everything right now, Hassan thought. I just need to keep going with sincerity and trust that Allah will lead me to the right place. The next day, Hassan made a decision to focus less on the external markers of success. He knew that despite the obstacles he faced, he had already been given so much. He had his health, his family, and the opportunity to learn. He understood now that these were the true blessings, the small, often overlooked gifts that were far more important than grades or titles. In his heart, Hassan realized that the process of trusting Allah's timing didn't mean being passive. It meant making consistent efforts with full faith in Allah's wisdom. He wasn't giving up on his dreams, but he was letting go of the pressure to control every aspect of his journey. He began to actively seek ways to strengthen his relationship with Allah, praying with more sincerity, giving charity without expecting anything in return, and being patient with those around him. It was in these actions, these daily moments, that he felt his faith grow stronger. Hassan started to see that the mercy and success Allah had planned for him were always there, even if they didn't look the way he had originally imagined. One afternoon, while talking to his friend Yusuf, Hassan shared his newfound sense of peace. "I've learned that true success isn't about getting what I want when I want it," Hassan said. "It's about trusting that Allah knows the best way forward for me. Success comes when we learn patience, when we stay connected to Him, and when we let go of the need to control everything." Yusuf, who had always known Hassan as someone driven by ambition, listened thoughtfully. "That's wisdom, Hassan. I think you're right. It's easy to forget that Allah has a plan for each of us. I need to start trusting that as well." As they sat together in the park, Hassan realized that his journey had only just begun. It was no longer about pushing against the current of life. It was about letting go and trusting that Allah's mercy and plan were guiding him. With every step, every prayer, and every act of kindness, he was moving closer to the success Allah had destined for him, a success far beyond what he had ever imagined. As Hassan continued on his path of patience and trust in Allah's timing, he noticed something profound taking shape in his life. It was as if the more he let go of the pressure to achieve on his terms, the more peace began to fill his heart. The anxiety he once felt about his academic performance, about achieving success, slowly began to dissipate, replaced by a calm confidence that Allah's plan for him was unfolding exactly as it was meant to. For the first time, Hassan was truly at peace with his journey. He was no longer tied to the relentless pursuit of grades or external validation. He focused on the process, working diligently, praying with sincerity, helping others, and accepting the moments when things didn't go as planned. And with each passing day, he saw small but meaningful changes in his life. Hassan began to see that the fruits of patience and faith were not found in the immediate results, but in the transformation of his heart and soul. One day, as Hassan walked through the market, he passed a familiar face, Khalid, a fellow student who had always been competitive and driven by the need for success. Khalid, like Hassan, had always been someone who strove for perfection and feared failure. But this time, Hassan noticed something different in Khalid's expression. There was a weariness in his eyes, as if the weight of the constant pressure was wearing him down. As they greeted each other, Khalid spoke up. "Hassan, you seem different lately," he said, his voice tinged with curiosity. "You've always been so focused, but now you seem at peace, as though everything is falling into place for you." Hassan smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for the transformation he had experienced. He had always kept his struggles to himself, but now he realized that his journey of trusting Allah and embracing patience was something that others could learn from. "It's not about the results anymore, Khalid," Hassan said with a calm that surprised even him. "It's about trusting in Allah's timing and embracing His plan. When you let go of the pressure to control everything, you find peace in knowing that Allah is guiding you every step of the way." Khalid listened intently, his eyes searching Hassan's face as if he were trying to understand how Hassan had come to this realization. "I don't know if I can do that," Khalid admitted. "I've always been afraid of failure. I push myself so hard because I feel like if I don't, I'll lose everything." Hassan nodded thoughtfully, understanding Khalid's fear. He had once shared that fear, the fear that success defined his worth. But now he knew that true worth lay in one's connection with Allah and the way they navigated life's challenges. The key is not to run from failure or to fear it, Hassan said gently. The key is to trust that every challenge, every setback, is part of Allah's plan. He doesn't want us to fail. He wants us to grow, to learn, and to keep turning back to Him with sincerity. Khalid stood silently for a moment, his thoughts clearly in turmoil. "I wish I could believe that," he finally said. "But it's hard. I've worked so hard for so long, and it feels like nothing is ever enough." Hassan placed a hand on Khalid's shoulder, a gesture of solidarity and understanding. "I know it's hard," he replied. "I've been there. But the moment I realized that success isn't about reaching a destination, but about how we walk the path, guided by faith, patience, and trust in Allah, that's when everything started to change for me." Later that evening, as Hassan sat in his room reflecting on his conversation with Khalid, a sense of deep peace settled over him. He thought about the changes he had experienced, his shift in mindset from a narrow view of success to a broader understanding of the mercy and guidance of Allah. The patience he had cultivated over the past months had begun to bear fruit. It was not the fruit of worldly recognition, but the fruit of inner peace, resilience, and a closer connection with Allah. Hassan had stopped measuring success by how quickly he reached his goals. Instead, he focused on the journey itself. With each small victory, whether it was improving his studies, helping a fellow student, or simply maintaining his faith through difficult moments, he felt the fruits of Allah's mercy ripening in his life. His relationship with Allah grew stronger with each passing day, and he began to see the beauty in the struggle, in the perseverance, and in the trust that Allah was always there, guiding him even when the path wasn't clear. One afternoon, Hassan received his final exam results. As he looked at the grades, he felt a sense of calm rather than anxiety. While the results were not perfect, they were the best he had ever received. More importantly, Hassan understood that these grades were just a small part of his journey. His real success, he realized, lay in his growth as a person, in his faith, in his patience, and in his ability to trust Allah's plan for him. As he sat in his room smiling to himself, Hassan knew that he had won in ways he had never expected. Success wasn't found in the grades on a paper, nor in the recognition he sought. It was found in the inner peace that comes from trusting Allah, the joy that comes from seeking His mercy, and the strength that comes from surrendering to His will. As the seasons changed and Hassan continued his journey, he noticed a profound shift in his heart. What had once been a heart full of doubt, frustration, and worry had become a heart full of peace, gratitude, and an unwavering trust in Allah. His life, once filled with anxiety and the constant pressure to succeed, had become more centered on the simple yet profound understanding that Allah's plan for him was the ultimate path to peace and fulfillment. The more Hassan trusted Allah's timing, the more he realized that true success wasn't about rushing towards the destination, but about finding contentment in each step of the journey. The victories that once seemed important to him, the grades, the achievements, the approval of others, began to fade into the background. What mattered now was the way he carried himself, the sincerity with which he approached his studies, and the kindness he showed to others. His heart was lighter because he had stopped measuring his worth by external standards and instead focused on his relationship with Allah. One evening, as Hassan sat by the window looking out at the city, he thought back to the days when he had been consumed with doubts about his worth and his ability to succeed. He had thought that success was all about reaching certain goals and that if he didn't achieve them, he would be a failure. But now he saw things differently. He understood that the real victory wasn't about the destination. It was about the journey, the lessons learned, the patience cultivated, and the connection with Allah that grew stronger each day. As he thought about all the challenges he had faced, he realized that they weren't just obstacles to overcome. They were opportunities for growth. Every setback had been a chance to strengthen his faith, to turn back to Allah, and to ask for His mercy. This journey, he thought, has not been about what I have achieved on my own, but about the mercy Allah has shown me, guiding me through every difficulty, teaching me to be patient, and helping me find peace within myself. That evening, Hassan made his way to the mosque for the evening prayer. As he entered, he felt a deep sense of gratitude in his heart. The mosque, a place of peace and reflection, now felt like a home, a place where he could come and leave all his worries behind, knowing that Allah was always there. As he stood in prayer, he reflected on all the blessings he had received and the growth he had experienced. He felt a profound connection to Allah, not because he had achieved everything he wanted, but because he had learned to trust in His plan, and in doing so, had found peace. In the quiet moments of prayer, Hassan realized something remarkable. He had won. It wasn't because of academic achievements, career milestones, or recognition from others. It was because he had found peace in his heart, trust in Allah's plan, and a deep sense of fulfillment that didn't depend on external circumstances. This is the victory, he thought, the victory of the heart, the victory of faith, the victory of trusting in Allah. As the days passed, Hassan's life continued to unfold in beautiful and unexpected ways. He didn't seek external validation anymore. He no longer measured success by the standards others set for him. Instead, he defined success by his relationship with Allah, by his sincerity, his patience, his humility, and the way he lived his life with gratitude. Hassan knew that no matter what the future held, he had already achieved the greatest success of all. He had found peace and contentment through Allah's mercy. One afternoon, a colleague at the university, Yara, approached Hassan with a question. Yara had noticed the change in Hassan over the past few months. His usual stress and anxiety had been replaced with a calm demeanor and a quiet confidence that seemed to radiate from him. "Hassan," she said, her voice gentle, "I've been noticing how much more peaceful you seem lately. What's changed?" Hassan smiled, thinking about the lessons he had learned. "It's not about doing more or achieving more," he said thoughtfully. "It's about trusting in Allah's plan and embracing the process. I've learned that true success isn't about external achievements. It's about how you grow on the inside, how you trust Allah, and how you handle every challenge with faith and patience." Yara listened carefully, clearly moved by his words. "I think I need to learn to trust Allah more," she said quietly. Hassan nodded, offering her a reassuring smile. "It's a journey, Yara," he said. "We all have to learn to trust, but when we do, that's when we truly begin to succeed." As Hassan walked home later that day, he reflected on the exchange with Yara. "Allah's mercy isn't just for me," he thought. "It's something I can share with others too." When we trust in Allah's plan and live with sincerity, we not only find peace, but we inspire others to do the same. Hassan's journey had taught him something irreplaceable. Success is found in the heart, not in the accolades or recognition from the world. True victory is found in surrendering to Allah's will, trusting His timing, and embracing His mercy with open arms. Hassan had learned that Allah wanted him to win, but the way to win was by embracing the journey, trusting in His plan, and finding peace in every moment. As the story of Hassan's journey comes to an end, it serves as a reminder for all of us. True success is not defined by worldly accomplishments, grades, or titles. It is found in our relationship with Allah through trust, patience, and the ability to surrender to His divine plan. Hassan's journey teaches us that no matter what challenges we face, Allah's mercy is always there, guiding us toward what is best for us, even when we don't fully understand the path. Allah wants you to win, but winning doesn't always look the way we expect. Sometimes, success is simply trusting that Allah is with us every step of the way and knowing that He has a greater plan in store for us. The key is to remain steadfast in our faith, embrace the journey, and believe in the power of Allah's mercy to shape our lives. So, as you continue your own journey, remember that Allah's plan is always better than anything we could imagine. Keep striving, keep trusting, and keep seeking His mercy. For it is through this that you will find true success, peace, and fulfillment. Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe. Let us continue to walk together on this path of faith, patience, and trust in Allah.